Consider One Another is a podcast focused on each other. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast that is all about stirring up love and good works in one another. Welcome to Consider One Another Season 2 here in Bremerton. What a blessing it is to say it's 2026 now. It's not 2026 here in the recording world, but it is where you're listening. Right now, I'm sitting with Madeline Turner. Maddie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is exciting. This was one that was really important for me to get so that I wouldn't lose my job here. Some people are saying, yeah, you have to get Maddie before she goes. I said, I know. And here we are. And so I was just explaining to Maddie how we're taking just a little bit of a break. So this will be the resume from the break as we start a new year and a new season of podcasting and sitting down with our members. Maddie, I'm in Isaiah 35. I'm going to read verses 3 through 10. I'll just read the scripture and then you can share any thoughts you have. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Isaiah 35, verse 3. Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Say to those who are fearful-hearted, be strong, do not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance. With the recompense of God, he will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then the lame shall leap like a deer, and the tongue of the dumb sing. For waters shall burst forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert. The parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty land springs of water. In the habitation of jackals where each lay, there shall be grass with reeds and rushes. A highway shall be there, and a road, and it shall be called the highway of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for others. Whoever walks the road, although a fool, shall not go astray. No lion shall be there, nor shall any ravenous beast go up on it. It shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. And the ransomed of the Lord shall return, and come to Zion with singing, with everlasting joy on their heads.
I think that it's just a really, really beautiful passage that has so much joy in it. The first thing that strikes me is, I feel like anyone in the world, if you just read this to them, it just would, people would react positively, I think. This is something desirable, I think, for every person because it's just positive language. I think that the agricultural and the animals and all of that imagery speaks to anyone in the world, no matter where you are. And then also the stuff where it was talking about, something about like the wicked people.
Maybe verse 4.
The people with the anxious heart come with a vengeance, with the recompense of God. He will come and save you. There's a lot of people who need saved. I think it was further down.
Verse 8.
I think there's amazing relevance to everyone where no matter what your viewpoint on the world is, you see that there is evil in the world. And this, in another way of comforting you, is saying God's going to banish the evil. God's going to bring the good. And I think if this was just, even people who are very prejudiced against God in the Bible, if this was read somehow without knowing it was from the Bible, or without the, maybe if you changed a few words, people would just think, wow, what, who wrote that? What an amazing poem.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. So I think it could be very comforting and persuasive even to teach the gospel to people.
Right, to show it in this light. And here I am thinking I've picked this specific passage for what we're about to talk about with Maddie. But I love that you bring out, I think this applies to anyone ever. Anyone who has read the Bible or hasn't read the Bible, this is beautiful. It is just naturally beautiful, and it's about banishing evil and bringing good. So maybe people have their prejudices about religion, about God, about the Bible. If you just read them this, who would be opposed to that?
Right.
Who would be opposed to this God who restores all things?
Kind of like the fruits of the Spirit. Against such things there is no law. It's kind of like, how could you argue with the goodness of this passage, of that promise?
How could you argue with that? And why would you want to? So I appreciate you bringing that out. I think you're exactly right. What stuck out to me was verses 5 and 6 is really explaining the restoration that our God has. Our God has the power to restore. And here we're seeing this in symbols with animals and creation, but here it's really specific about people. And verses 5 and 6, the eyes of the blind will be opened, the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped, the lame shall leap. And I'm thinking, hey, these are all things that Jesus did. This is symbolism of restoration, but then we see an actual fulfillment in Jesus. He did all those things. Our God is one who restores.
I saw your note about those verses and I was like, wow, you're right. I mean, those bring up clear stories from the Gospels, and I thought that was a very cool connection.
Yeah, clear stories from the Gospels. I've heard Isaiah described as the fifth Gospel. This is how people understood Jesus' life, by looking back at Isaiah. Like, oh, this is God. This must be God, because who else restores like this? It could only be God. So the reason that I bring it up here is because you are an occupational therapist. Mm-hmm. And there's this common symbol in Scripture, specifically here in Isaiah 35, for what God can do for his people. That is, that God can restore that which is broken. And how amazing that is. In the many ways we see that in salvation, in Jesus, and in many other ways. Here we see it in this poetic, beautiful way of explaining it. But I bring it up here to talk with you because you do a lot of restoring and helping people in that. Maybe not quite as miraculous, but it's still restoration. That's the job. But I don't know a whole lot exactly about the specifics of it. This is beyond my pay grade. So that's why I want to hear from you. I imagine you have seen a lot of cool stories of healing and people's health being restored. So could you just summarize for us what you do, what an occupational therapist does, and any cool story that you have of healing, restoration that you've gotten to witness?
Yes, so an occupational therapist is a healthcare profession. Our focus is on whatever the deficit is for that person, whether it's like physical or anything, where if you're not fully participating in your life tasks. So occupation doesn't mean vocation in this case. It means what you occupy your time with.
Life tasks.
So we have domains of occupation that we talk about in school. Self-care, being able to feed yourself, dress yourself, shower, all of that is a domain of occupation. Rest and sleep is an area of life that we occupy our time with. Play, leisure, work, school, social engagements, all those are kind of areas of life. Home, chores and meal prep and home tasks, those kinds of things are areas of occupation. So when you have some sort of difficulty with those, an occupational therapist's goal is to help you maximize your function and independence in any and all of those areas.
Okay. Any of them. Sleeping, playtime.
Yes, because it all works together to create like well-being.
Life.
We look at it like life is when you're participating in the meaningful and fullest way that you can. So it doesn't mean you can get back to 100% physical health. That might not be possible for someone. But if you love to cook, but that's really difficult for you, how can we come up with the adaptive tools to help you participate more in that thing you love? Can we give you strategies that are going to help you get back to it again?
That is a noble description there. That was very good.
We practice our elevator speech in school, but I mean, it
Really?
changes every time because no one knows what an OT is, but it changes every time I try to give it. I don't know. It's a very broad thing that is kind of difficult to understand. So physical therapy, we get that. Most people understand sort of what that does. And we work very hand in hand because a big part of getting you back to those life tasks is if we can get your body back to what it was doing before, that would be priority number one. But if it's not going to be, how do we compensate? How do we adapt the task?
Is that a real thing that people typically don't know what an OT is?
Yeah, most people don't.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. No. They tell you in school. Most people will know what an OT is, but that's okay.
All the descriptions except what you actually are. So there's the elevator pitch, and she nailed it. That was awesome. What a noble profession to help people live life to its fullest. Mm-hmm. Not that we're God and can make you perfect. God can make things perfect, but Maddie's job here is to allow you to enjoy life to the fullest that you can.
Share a bunch of wisdom from other people, the professors and the textbooks and everything. And it's a healthcare focus, so it is, body and medically based.
Yes.
But then it's about the holistic person.
Another good word. Snaps for holistic. Okay, so there's what she does. That is awesome. I love that you do that. Do you have, no pressure, but do you have a story of restoration that you've gotten to witness?
I've been racking my brains. I mean, just so many patients' faces pop up in my head.
Sure.
So I've been working in inpatient rehab, which is usually they're medically stable enough to leave the regular hospital, but they're not ready to go home because they've had such a dramatic change. They're not safe to go home. So maybe they had a stroke and half their body's paralyzed. They're medically stable, so they can come to us and do therapy for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they have enough knowledge and skills to be able to be at home again. So we see people for 1 to 3 or 4 weeks. So it's kind of the big condensed beginning part of their journey of recovery and change and everything after whatever the big thing has happened to them.
Okay.
So we start them on the recovery journey. I mean, I don't see people all the way through. If they came back 6 months later, it could be totally different. But we're hopefully seeing a huge amount of progress in those couple weeks, enough so that they could not put on a shirt, potentially, depending on who they are, when they first got here. But by the time they go home, hopefully, and maybe with some amount of help from their family, but they can go home and function, survive well enough at home is the goal. But there is a lot of restoration in that period because they're it's one step away from hospital, one step closer to home.
Okay, not the whole journey necessarily. Okay, gotcha. But you get to see a little snapshot of it.
Yeah. So the one thing I thought to bring up isn't exactly, I don't think, what you meant by this, but one of my favorite parts of my job, when they first get there and I do my evaluation, as long as it's safe and appropriate to do so, I help them take a shower. Most of the people have not had a shower in however long they've been at the hospital. Whether it's a week, most people don't like going an entire week without a shower. For some people, it's been 3 to 4 weeks and they haven't had a shower. People love having that shower. And it feels so good. And they're like, can't tell you how many times I've heard, I feel like a human again. So that's a very small but very relevant to them version of restoration. They feel so much better after that first shower. So I see a lot in the little things during that hospital stay, and especially that first shower.
That was so good. And that is not what I had in mind either.
No, I didn't think it was.
Oh, but that'll preach. There's something in there that's really good. It's cool when you read about miraculous healings in the New Testament, or when you hear about someone who just seemingly miraculously got better, and you're like, wow, look, the arm works again. But what about people who just want to feel like a human again, and their life tasks they can't quite accomplish yet are prohibiting them from feeling like a human? You bring them to that spot, and that leads to restoration.
And now they feel better. Now they might be able to think about all the therapy things. Now they might be able to even just cope with the idea of therapy. It's a very overwhelming time for people. So the little things, I think, can really help. You can't solve all their problems. I can't. But we can do little good things that just keep stepping them forward.
Yes, and I guess in the healthcare world it sounds little because you're not operating or doing the big high-level medical things. You're talking about showers. However, if you were to look at the high-level doctors and surgeons that I'm sure you work with, they're not doing what you're doing. They couldn't. I know they couldn't. I couldn't. That's tough. Yeah. Getting, I guess, close to people who have not showered in such a long time, that's difficult. We don't really like to be around people like that. But that is a servant role, and I think the payoffs there are well seen. Just getting to hear someone say, I feel like a human again. That would just make me cry. God, that's so sweet.
Some of them are kind of emotional.
And there's a spiritual tie there too. When you think about helping people out, someone who seems so far from being able to do anything, sometimes if you can bring them just one step closer to a task they need to get done, sometimes the rest of the tasks get done.
Glass of cold water.
Oh, hey, nice scripture. Yeah, exactly. Great answer. With that question, I was like, this is a tough question, and you nailed it. So here's another tough question.
Okay.
You're about to start a new phase of life. Yay. Really exciting. I like to make jokes, as does everyone here, about how Maddie can't leave, but no jokes on the podcast. That's the rule. We're really just excited for what's next for Maddie. So tell us what is next for Madeline and what led you to this decision.
Yes, well, I have always liked the idea of doing travel therapy. Mom has done travel therapy when she was a fairly new PT, so we've heard her stories about that. And I like the idea because you, in a short period of time, in like a 3-month or 13-week contract, you get to work somewhere and then you can go to a next place. So you can see different areas of the whole country. You can also try different areas of of practicing OT. So it could be at a hospital like I've been at. It could be at the acute care hospital, like just where you're admitted in the hospital. It could be at a skilled nursing facility. It could be with children, all sorts of different things. So I can try out a lot of the different settings, get a little experience, and see what I like. And same with places. You can see a whole bunch of places. So I've always had the dream of doing it. But I did want some stationary experience first to just feel like I knew what I was doing as an OT first, before all of that quick succession change. So I feel like I have got that. I've been very blessed with my job here. I gave myself at least a year in the job here. Was always my mental timeline. And then I was very comfortable. I didn't feel the need to leave right at a year or anything, so I stayed a little bit longer. It hasn't been quite 2 years. That would be in March.
Okay.
But
almost.
yeah, so it was just me deciding I needed to do it. So I did the research and sought it out and made it happen.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so then you made it happen, and it sounds cool. Like saying travel OT is like, that's cool. Where are you traveling to? What will that look like?
My first contract is in Waco, Texas.
Waco.
So yeah, I picked that too. You're very in control for the most part, which is cool.
That's really cool.
So I decided to try and find a place there. There's not contracts everywhere, but I wanted to find one there so I could be near my 2 cousins that live down in Texas and see them a lot while I'm there. And then, I have a list of cities and places I would like to go. To see different people. I'd like to do Denver, where another cousin is, a friend who has a new baby. The Northeast would be cool. I have one friend who lives in New Jersey. It would be really cool to go up there at some point. So who knows? It's very much a wing it kind of thing.
But all those are on the table.
They can be, yes. Just depends on where the jobs are.
Yeah.
There's a big list.
That is so cool the type of friend you're talking about who lives over here or has a baby and you want to know their new life and you say, oh, we'll visit sometime. That never happens.
Right.
Who can visit, to the Northeast just to see a friend? It rarely happens. But what if it's your job?
Right.
Now it's going to happen.
I can go get paid and see them on the weekends.
Exactly. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so Waco, Texas. When will you leave?
I'm leaving probably like the 5th or 6th, which is like a Monday or Tuesday to drive down. I'll probably take like 4 days or so to drive down because I don't want to drive really, really long days by myself.
Okay.
I start work the 12th.
Okay, 12th of January, so 2026 will look real different for Maddie, but that's so exciting. Again, we're happy for you. I'm sorry for all the jokes. Maybe I've made a lot of jokes myself, but we're happy for her and what's coming next. And I'm glad we understand better what an OT is now.
Yep.
Not a PT, not a nurse, and you're going to go do that restoring noble work down there in Texas. So thank you for what you do. That's a big deal. Let me shift gears here. I say that every time. Let me transition here to something else. You were raised in this congregation. That's really cool. Then you went away for undergrad. So you went to Florida College.
Yep.
Shout out. And then you went to postgrad. Was that right after Florida College or was there a gap in between?
There was a semester gap. I finished in December and then at FC I finished in December and then started the next fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
the next
sense.
August.
Right. No spring semester, just the next fall
So I
semester.
lived at home here that 7 months, 8 months, or whatever it was.
Okay, and then you go to Tennessee, what school?
Tennessee Milligan University. It's a very
Nice.
small Christian school there.
Oh, cool.
And they have a Master's of Occupational Therapy program.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a Christian school. Okay, cool. Milligan University in Tennessee. And then you were explaining this to me. You come home after that. That was not the plan originally, right?
Right. Well, my plan was I graduated, I took the test, I came home for Christmas, and then I was going to be here while I was job hunting. So I was here in January. My stuff was all in Tennessee. My car was in Tennessee, and it was just whenever I find a job, wherever it is, I'll get my car and go there. But I was not intending to be in Washington. Everyone kept asking me, are you moving back home? Where are you going? And I was like, well, I don't know, probably not Washington. I said that many times. Not because I don't love it, but I just didn't think it was going to happen. But there was specifically the inpatient rehab job here that I didn't know was here. And that was the only one that came through. I was praying the whole time that God would make it clear where I should go.
Yes.
And make me feel content and peace with the decision, wherever it was. And over the weeks of being here and job hunting, I really felt that he was saying, yeah, you can stay here. You can do this job.
Okay. And so you took it.
Yep.
And you've been here, like you said, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
This is what's interesting to me. Is you were raised in this congregation, like you said, but then you went away for a time, a couple years worth of time, and then come back. And now you've been here for almost 2 years. So if you can articulate this, what was different about your involvement in the congregation in this stint, if you will, versus growing up here?
Well, I mean, the difference is me being a child versus being an adult.
That's a big difference, yes.
Yeah, it does feel much different, but I have learned so much about what being a Christian is, what a church is, what an eldership does, what it takes to have Bible classes, all kinds of things. I mean, the other work that is done just relationally in a church that you have no idea about as a kid.
Right.
So it felt very good to come home and to have so many people that I have known forever that I could get to know as an adult now. And then also there were a bunch of new people, so I could make new relationships as well, because both are exciting.
Yes.
So it does feel entirely different, but the difference is, me being an adult versus a child, I guess.
Yeah.
And just my perspective is so much broader now as a Christian, I guess, and just even as an adult.
Yeah, and that's a great answer, and it transitions me to where I want to go. But I know what you're talking about, being a kid versus an adult. And for me, going back home for a shorter amount of times after school, it was so easy for me to feel like a kid again.
Yes.
When I was at church, and then I acted like one. I kind of said, okay, I'm going to clock in and out. Like, I don't really have anything to do here. This is, I'm just a kid.
Right. You go hug the people that have watched you grow up, and you're the kid who came home for a little bit. But yes, I did feel when I was in that decision period before deciding to stay here that I could see all the work I could do. I could see the good I could potentially do for God here. And that's what made me feel like this was probably the right decision to stay home. I felt like going to a new place, I'd be learning, adjusting, and you kind of take a little bit more potentially when you're the new person. It's not your home. But since this was home base for me, I felt like I could do more and give more potentially because I already knew this place so well.
And you're exactly right, but conceptually versus actually doing it are two big differences, and you've done it. I've only been here for 5 months, but I just see Maddie as a main worker here, as someone who helps and works hard, and that is very well seen in so much of what you do, and not just being the contact person for Realm. What would we do now without Maddie? But you really saw that opportunity, and you did something with it. It's easy to not do that. Just revert back to being a kid, and go to the people that you know and kind of wait for your next thing. And I know you were excited about this next thing. You've been telling us about this since we first got here. Now it's happening. But it would have been easy to say, I don't really go here.
Right. I'm
about to leave, so I'm going to leave these other things to someone else. But you didn't do that. You worked while you could. And I'm sure you're going to go and work wherever you go now. But I want to talk to you about your involvement. Your involvement in and commitment to evangelism is very well seen to me and is very encouraging to me. Whether it is your presence at meetup studies, which she is so good at being there and asking good questions or answering maybe not so good questions that I ask, she helps the conversation go toward a place people need it to. And the people that have studied with us have always commented on that. So just your presence at studies, your willingness to reach out to coworkers, or just ideas that you share with me for outreach. She'll say, hey, what about this? I just love your attitude toward evangelism. How has that become such a natural part of your life? Because it really is natural, the way I see you do it. There's some people who are really outspoken about it, whereas it's become so natural for you.
Well, thank you for saying so. I was very surprised when I read this from your notes, because this is not a strength of mine, at least that I have seen in myself, and it's a more new thing. I mean, I've always been, as a child, very shy, and it is a newer focus that I feel like a lot of people, Bremerton and university while I was at FC, have focused more on considering evangelism and what that looks like. So I've learned a lot from other people putting emphasis on it, but I was surprised to read it, so I'm glad that it feels that way.
Oh, I mean it.
Honestly, what helps me is you made the meetup study, you got someone to attend, I am happy to come and participate.
Yeah.
it's more daunting to get it going, to get things started. And I like to generate ideas and things and have other people to do it with. And then trying to talk to people. I'm not great at that, but I think the attitude I have started to try and embrace is, this is my life. I want to make sure other people see that. Because being a Christian is my identity. But I can act like a Christian and still kind of just not really talk about it. Even though that's not, in reality, that's not true. But it feels like I could. But talk about it. Like, you are different. I am different in the way I approach my life in the world and everything. So maybe just say some of those things out loud rather than keeping them as thoughts in my head. So I'm not great at it yet. I think the most progress I've made so far, if I see any indication of faith or belief in God from other people, that lowers a barrier for me. Yes. And I'm much more likely to say something now because we have a common thing. Let's talk about it. I've done that much more frequently at work now. If I see any little indication of faith or belief in God, or if someone says something, then I am trying to get more brave at bringing it up then. I need to bring it up anyway. Like, if I see a Bible sitting on someone's side table at the hospital,
oh, nice,
I'll bring that up. I mean, that's very relevant to recovery and rehab and stuff. Is the spiritual aspect is incredibly relevant.
Yes.
We know as Christians. So if that's if they have a faith, then we need to talk about that.
So for me, where I miss my opportunities is someone will give me an opportunity like that. I see a Bible, or they bring up something that happened at church, and I'm just surprised by it, and I don't go anywhere with it.
Right.
But you're explaining it. I'm looking for those. I'm looking for those indicators and opportunities, and now you're ready with your thing, whatever it is that you might say. So that's encouraging to me that you do it, and of course it's a process and a journey for all of us, like you're describing. But what I've seen from you has just been so encouraging and natural. I was talking to Shannon about the podcast because she was, saying how she enjoys it. I was like, oh, you should come on the podcast sometime. She said, no. I said, okay, fine. We'll get Maddie to do that. But she's another one who you were just a coworker with, and was that a situation where there was an indication of faith, like you mentioned?
I'm trying to remember. I had heard her say she lived in Bremerton. So that was just like a flag for me, because it is harder to invite people to church if they live in Tacoma.
Because that's where you work.
Right, my work is in Tacoma.
She was in Bremerton too.
I remember she had said she lived in Bremerton, and we were talking one day. I was just making a little bit of an effort to have a conversation with her, and it was Mother's Day weekend about to be, and she probably asked my plans, and I said something about, going to church and hanging out with my church family, and then I just asked her, do you have a church family?
Nice.
And she said, well, not really right now, and our conversation progressed from there and into an invitation and that kind of a thing. But I think literally all it was I said what I was going to be doing on Sunday and asked her, does she have a church family? And she was looking for one, so I said, please, come be a part of ours.
Boom, and here she is, and now she is. Like I said, she was excited about the podcast, and she was one of many that said, you got to get Maddie on, and now you've done that. And now she has a church family. She was looking for that. So we never want to get too, scripty about it, but just knowing something like that to say is helpful, because it's not a trick, it's not something impossible. I like that you bring out, I am different. And you'll hear people who are different take every opportunity they have to describe their thing that they're excited about, whether it's their extracurricular or their hobby or their identity in a social group. People bring stuff up like this all the time, and sometimes we're the ones who are most scared to bring up our thing. We are different, and if someone asks you your weekend plans, that's not a trick question to lead into church things. That's just a natural, well, this is what I did. It was great.
I'm never going to be, okay, I guess I shouldn't say never, but I will never want to just bring up a debate about things. I'm very non-confrontational, but something like that is much easier. Like, I love hanging out with my church family. Do you have one?
And non-confrontational, I think, is how a lot of us are. And actually, as Christians, we want to be peacemakers. And sometimes evangelism seems like automatic confrontation. And naturally, there's a time for that. But usually, like we started with Isaiah 35, usually there's something that we can bring up that should be beautiful to anyone. Anyone who we see as seeking even a little bit. You can say, do you have a church family? That's not confrontational. That's beautiful. Do you want to know God? That's beautiful, not confrontational. So look for those opportunities. So Maddie's describing even someone who's non-confrontational like herself finds those opportunities, and it's natural. So I really do mean that. Thank you for your example in that. Okay, it is the last segment. Maddie, favorite Bible verse, favorite hymn, both, whatever you want to share, go.
Oh my goodness, this brings me distress.
Oh, okay.
It's really hard.
Podcast is over. Never mind.
No, just because it's hard to pick a favorite. But my favorite verse, I'm going to say for right now, is 2 Timothy 1:7. I guess found this verse while I was in college. And definitely we can all have, well, I guess I'll read it first. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And that's Paul talking to Timothy, kind of encouraging him to fan the flame of his faith and do the work that Timothy needs to do. But I think it's very easy to have a spirit of fear. I think our human spirits have a lot of fear, but God is giving us his spirit that is not fear, but is power and love and self-control. And this ESV translation of those three words, the power, love, and self-control, I want those things. I mean, especially love and self-control. I struggle for all of those things, and I don't have to wrestle them into my own spirit. God is giving me his and will transform mine. And I find a lot of comfort in that.
That was really good. You're giving me his spirit and will transform mine. Yes, that's awesome. And that does have to do with what we were just talking about with evangelism. It's easy to focus on the fear. We say, no, there's no fear here or focusing on my own shortcomings. It's just the spirit that I do have, and that's God. He has given me this spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. That makes it easier to go and do scary things. Okay, great answer. And no need to be fearful of this, okay? This is good. This is exciting. You don't have to pick a favorite if you don't want to.
Well, if you want some more, I have a list of like 5 or 6 that I was like debating between.
Oh,
but
yes.
I've settled on one because it doesn't have to be my forever favorite.
Okay.
But right now,
Just for now.
The one I have gone back to a lot was one I discovered. It's on one of the newer Praise and Harmony albums, but it's I'm So Blessed. It was not one I'd ever heard. I've only ever heard it on the Praise and Harmony. But the lyric that really caught my attention is, on my best day, I'm a child of God. On my worst day, I'm a child of God. And when I heard that the first time, it was like, on my best day, I'm a child of God. On my worst day, and I was like, what is it going to say? And then it just said, I'm a child of God. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Yes, that's how that's supposed to be.
But it's easy to forget.
Easy to forget. And the whole song is I'm so blessed. It's a little cheesy even. It says, like, got this heartbeat in my chest. You know, I'm so blessed.
That rhymes.
But I just like that song. It's one you can sing loud in the car if you want.
Yeah, and those are good. A car singing song. And it's a beautiful example of who we are. Best day, yes, I'm a child of God. And that's the same as the worst day. And for me, it's easy to forget that. My worst day, I'm cut off from God because I'm not good enough. No. We're still a child of God. Really good. What was the short list? I want to know.
Okay. Here. Okay, Magnificat.
Nice.
The, add apart ones. Only a Holy God.
Yes.
Behold our God.
Yes.
Mighty to Save. And then another one that's on that Praise and Harmony one is Yes He Can.
Okay, I know most of those. Yes, He can. I'm so blessed. I like Praise and Harmony. And that's a good way to learn new songs. And to have songs like that to sing in the car is great. Sometimes you are looking for that song to sing along with loudly. And you forget, there are hymns that I can sing like that. I'm so blessed.
On Friday, coming home from my last day of work at my job, I was just feeling very filled up and happy. You know, it was a bittersweet leaving, saying goodbye to everyone, but I was seeing the positive of the job I just had. I was seeing the positive of where I was headed, so I was just feeling really good. So I, belted out 4 different praise songs on my drive home.
Yes.
And so.
I love that, but I love that's how you respond. Let's go to praise. You can probably hear the doorbell ringing, people walking in. It's Sunday night here in December. So, Maddie, thank you for kicking off the season with so many great thoughts. And this is just going to serve as a little tangible reminder of how much we're going to miss Maddie and what an encouragement she has been to this congregation for a long time, way longer than I've been here. But just in the 5 months, you have filled us up with so much joy. And so thank you. I'm very, very grateful that we overlapped when we did. And I know there's going to be good things for you in Waco, Texas, and wherever else next. But we got to get to Bible class. Maddie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
The Bible tells us to consider one another in order to stir up love and good works in each other. So thank you for stirring up love and good works in me just by listening to this episode.
I think I'm good. I'm a fairly wing it kind of person, so we're gonna wing this.
That's
what I've been thinking about it, but yeah, I'm not a write down my answers
Okay.
kind of person.